So here's what is gonna happen. We're coming in this week. I got a crew and we are going to demolish everything in the room. The ceiling's coming out, and I've mentioned all this in previous recordings. Lighting's coming out, garage doors coming out. This bench, which is pretty helpful, is also gonna come out. I'll move it to my garage. The bigger concern is all of this gear has to be moved out. And it may not look like much on camera, but I'm telling you, it's all heavy, heavy stuff. And I'm just like one guy. I don't actually have any clue how I'm gonna get all this stuff out of here today. But I got to get everything out because they're gonna blow the walls down to the studs, and I don't want my gear being rained on with drywall and insulation and all the nasty stuff. But I'll push through. The plywood up there for a little while longer because the guys who are putting the insulation in the attic, I did want to take a second and kind of step you guys through the benefit of this room, which is one of the things I really liked about it from the beginning. As we climb up this ladder here, you can see all the space up here in this loft. So this is the old attic of the room, but what's going to happen, this whole space here is going to be opened up to the floor, and it's going to allow for some pretty sweet drum tones because we'll have such high ceilings. This is a 16-foot ceiling from the floor below, which for drums is great. And if you look over here, I still have all that room, which I may not actually demo. I may leave it into place and just wall it off. One of the things we're having to do, and this is a construction problem, you can see that gable there and these truss bays here. Since we're opening up the entire cavity and there won't be any insulation in here now, it gets pretty hot out here in the summer, so my only solution to deal with that is to put insulation in here. But I can't use regular batt insulation because the batts themselves present a number of problems. One, they shed, which means people will breathe the particulates, and that's not good. There's a limit to how much R value I can get from it, which means how much heat it's going to resist. And then, of course, there's some issues that can happen with lack of ventilation, and potential mold growth is what I had in my last studio. So I'm going to be using a contractor to put what's called injected foam. They'll inject something that's kind of like Good Stuff, the canned insulation, that's expandable foam you see in the store. They're going to put that in these cavities here, and it'll get a much better R value, and it will allow me to keep the ceiling completely open and exposed to the floor, so we can get really big, tall ceiling drum sounds in a relatively small room. Hey guys, Dusk here. So we are doing upgrading the service for the studio, and we kind of had to rip some plants out because we got to get to this. We're putting in all the electrical. We completely re-pulled all the electrical that had the actual lines in it. Were pulled out, and we installed, I think it's number 4, some pretty thick cable, and we put a sub panel in the garage right here, so I'm nice and beefed out. I have plenty of room to run my studio and an air conditioner. And we'll go shoot some footage over there. Basically, my chore today is just putting all the pipes in, which is not really a big thing. It's gonna take probably 20 minutes. We had a really hard time finding the pipes. In fact, I showed you in an earlier video. We couldn't find it because we were having a hard time getting through. So we started digging holes all over my backyard and trying to find where we thought maybe a J-box was. We never did find the J-box. I tore my yard up nice and good though. Started filling in the holes once we realized that what was giving us trouble wasn't a J-box. It was the fact that the guy that put the conduit in used expandable foam inside the conduit in the studio, so the wires were effectively cemented into place. They decided for whatever reason to use expandable foam in a conduit. There's a reason we are not supposed to use sawzalls when taking out walls, or at least you have to be super careful. As I was watching the worker cut this piece here, you can even see the blade marks it got kind of close to this stud as they were trying to carve their way through it. And as he reached right about here, it occurred to me, man, he should be really careful because he's getting close to the plug down there and we don't know if it's on this side or this side. And of course, when I saw sparks and smelled smoke, I knew, oh, there you go. Be careful with a sawzall when you're taking stuff apart and demoing. So I knew it could happen, and it did, and you just got to be careful.